All right, beautiful people. Today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing integers. So we practiced this last year, so this is going to be kind of a review for us. We're going to talk about what happens when it is a single two-digit problem, like examples 1 and 2, and then we're going to talk about when you have multiple numbers, like questions 3 and 4. Okay, so we're going to go back over our rules for multiplying and dividing with integers, and we're going to talk about some different ways we're going to see multiplication and division. So the first way that we're going to see multiplication is our traditional x value. Okay, so when you see that multiplication, that x value, that's going to tell you you're multiplying. Remember last year we learned that sometimes they're going to use that dot. That dot is going to tell you you're multiplying. And occasionally you're going to have a number outside of a parentheses, and that is going to tell you you're multiplying. So 3 different ways we might see multiplying. Some vocabulary for these are going to be each. Each is a good vocabulary word. You might see the word area, or you might see fraction of. That's going to be the big one we're going to focus on, fraction of, okay? So those are all good multiplying vocabulary. All right, as far as division is concerned, we have some different ways we're going to see division. And again, we talked about these last year. The first way is our traditional fraction. We have cowboy over horse, okay? Remember that we could also write it cowboy divided by horse. Cowboy is always in the front. And then when he goes home to his house, the cowboy is inside and the horse is outside. And occasionally you might see it as a slash, but again, that's just a fraction that's kind of like tumped over. All right, so those are the different ways we're going to see division. So what is the rule for multiplying and dividing integers? Well, when we're multiplying and dividing, we need to use integer man. So hopefully you remember integer man from last year. Again, we only use him when multiplying and dividing, okay? So make sure you're only using integer man when multiplying and dividing. Remember, integer man has negative signs for his eyes, and he has a positive sign for his mouth, okay? If you wanted, you could draw his Mickey Mouse ears to remind you that he is only used for dividing and for multiplying. So again, we're going to use integer man anytime we're multiplying and dividing. So our first example is -6 parentheses 10, which is right here, example number 1. So the first thing I need to look at is I need to look at my parentheses and I need to ask myself, is there a number in front? If there's a number in front, then we are going to rewrite it as multiplication. So this parentheses just represents multiplication. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it with my multiplying dot. And then I know I'm multiplying, so I'm going to need integer man. So I'm going to go ahead and draw him over here on the side. Negative signs for eyes, positive sign for a mouth. So my 6 was negative. I'm going to scratch out an eye. 10 is positive. I'm going to scratch out the mouth. And what's left is a negative. So when I multiply, whatever I get, my answer will be negative. All right, and then what is 6 times 10? Well, hopefully you know 6 times 10 is -60. So we got the negative from integer man, and we had 60, 6 times 10. All right, let's try another example. This time we're going to use division. So remember, when we're dividing, we need to label our cowboy and our horse to make sure that we put the right number inside the house. So 25 is my cowboy, boots and hat. 2 numbers at the table. 5 is going to be outside. Notice that I didn't include my decimals because my negatives, because I'm going to use integer man for my negatives. So I'm going to come over here to the side and draw my integer man. Again, negative signs for eyes, positive sign for a mouth. All right, so I have a negative I, scratch it out for 25. I have a negative I, scratch it out for 5. And so what is my answer? My answer will be positive. So whatever I get as my answer will be a positive number. So how many times can 5 go into 2? 0, but we can go 5 into 25 5 times. So my answer will be positive 5. All right, so that's just with 2 numbers. So now what happens when we have several numbers in our problem? So you can see in our next problem, we have 9 parentheses -2 divided by 6. So we have 3 different numbers we need to solve for, and we are multiplying at the front and we are dividing at the back. And just as a reminder, if we were to draw our order of operations, or OO tower, just as a reminder from last year, remember that we start with all parentheses, and that's when there's something inside the parentheses to solve. We move to exponents. Remember, multiplying and dividing go left to right. So sometimes you might multiply first, sometimes you might divide first. Remember that they are like twins. Whoever's first gets to go first. And same thing for adding and subtracting. We move left to right. Remember that now that we're in 7th grade, we might have to do these operations with negatives. So reminder that integer man will be used on the multiply divide step, and my positive negative table will be used on my add and subtract step. So that's just a reminder of your OO tower. All right, so let's go back to number 3 and check out our parentheses. So first thing I'm gonna ask myself, is this a parentheses up here, or is this a multiplying parentheses? So in this case, I look and I say, what's in front of the parentheses? A 9. So that's actually just a multiplying parentheses. So I'm gonna rewrite this as 9 times -2 divided by 6, okay? And I'm just rewriting that because it's not really a parentheses, it is multiplication. So just like up here when we wrote different ways to see multiplication, that parentheses is one of them. Anytime there is a number right in front of your parentheses. So just like order of operations, we are going to box it and bring it down. So I'm gonna go left to right for my multiplying and dividing. I am multiplying with a negative, so I need a little integer man out here. I have a positive 9 and a -2, so my answer will be -18 for this first 2 numbers. And then I just rewrite the rest of my problem, which is divided by 6. Well, I have another division with a negative, so I need another integer man. So I'm gonna say 18 divided by 6 is 3, 18 was negative, 6 was positive, so my answer will be -3 because I'm all done. I did this step and I don't have anything else to bring down. Okay, so let's try one more with example number 4. So example number 4, I don't have any parentheses, so I don't need to worry about that. So this time I have division in the front and multiplication in the back. But remember, we move left to right because they're like brother and sister or twins. We just move all the way across the problem because they are equals. So I am going to start by boxing my division. And again, multiplying and dividing, we need integer man. So I'm going to draw an integer man above that. 20 was positive and 4 was negative, which makes this a -5. And then I can cross that out and I can bring down the rest of my problem, which will be times -3. So I box the next problem and I say, okay, it's multiplying with a negative. I need my integer man. And I'm gonna go ahead and say -5, -3. So my answer will be positive, and 5 times 3 is 15. I can cross that box out, and I don't have anything else to bring down, so positive 15 is my answer. All right, example number 5 is a word problem, but we're still gonna be multiplying and dividing. All right, so let's read through our word problem here. It says that Roberto has a total debt of $125. He owes 5 people on his basketball team $15, and the remaining amount is split equally among 4 people on his soccer team. How much does he owe each of his 4 soccer teammates? So we know our total debt is $125. We know some of our $125 is going to go to the basketball team, and some of it is going to go to the soccer team. So we need to go back and read and see which one is which. So let's see. For the basketball team, we have 5 people, and he owes them $15 each. So underneath basketball, I would say 5 people times, and he owes them money. So that's going to be a negative $15, because when you owe somebody money, that's a negative. Okay? So we need integer man. And we can see 5 is positive, 15 is negative. So my answer will be negative 75. And that is just to the basketball team. All right. And then we owe some money to the soccer team. So we have the remaining amount. So what does remaining amount mean? Well, that means we need to take how much we owe the basketball team, and we need to take it away from our total debt, right? Because this is basketball. Okay, so 125 minus 75, we're going to have to borrow. 12 minus 7 is 50. So the 50 left over is going to be what belongs to our soccer team. Well, it doesn't belong to just one player. We got to say, okay, well, it belongs to how many players? It belongs to, if we're reading, it says 4 people, and it's going to split equally. So again, split is a good dividing word. So we're going to take that final debt of $50, and we're going to split that among 4 people. Okay, split that among 4 people. So again, 50 is my cowboy, 4 is my horse. And again, this is a debt, so this is a negative 50. We owe negative $50. Okay, so we're going to take our 50 and we're going to put it in the house, and we're going to divide by 4. Okay, so boots, hats. 4 people can sit in 5 chairs one time with 1 left over. Bring your 0. 4 people can sit in 10 chairs 2 times with 2 left over. We can't leave a remainder, so we're going to add a donut. 4 people can sit in 20 chairs 5 times. And so that leaves how much for each soccer player? Well, he owes them $12.50 each. And I know it's negative because if I used my integer man, I had a negative 50 and a positive 4, which leaves a negative. And again, we're owing that money, so owing money is a negative. All right, so go practice multiplying and dividing integers.